You may have the best product, the best service, and 1,001 things that you want to tell your clients about the key benefits to working with you. But if you can't tell them in under 3 sentences, then everything else is pointless. Hey, how's it going? Ryan Caswell here from B2B Leads, and today we're going to be talking all about how to write the perfect connection message on LinkedIn. So a connection message is the message that we send as you reach out and request someone to become a connection, join your network, become a friend. If you're familiar with Facebook, it's similar to friending someone, and allows you to message back and forth freely with them on the platform. And obviously having a conversation is valuable because we need to be able to say more than 3 sentences to them. The thing is, we need to be able to communicate that value very quickly and concisely to get people to connect with us so that we can have that conversation. And connection message is that first point of call for most people. So let's just jump straight into it. I'm sure a lot of you are probably familiar with LinkedIn and the connection message request, probably why you're watching this video. But for those of you who aren't, let's just quickly go over what it actually looks like. So if we try and find someone, you click on Holly, and you click on connect. It says you can add a note to personalize your invitation to Holly, or you can just not send a note at all and send it, or you can add a note and I can say, as an example, hey, I thought it'd be worth connecting for our meeting today. I mean, if we were meeting, but if I was to copy that, you see it stops me at 300 characters here. So it's really important that we write something in under 300 characters that needs to achieve a lot of things. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. We're going to go over some examples that get really great connection rates and talk about why people connect with you and what drives them to decide whether or not they trust you enough to connect or whether they decide to ignore you. So let's jump back to some notes I've got here and go over what makes a good connection message and determines whether or not people are going to connect with you. So the first thing is understanding the limits of your connection message on LinkedIn. And the obvious one that we just touched on was that 300 character limit. 300 characters does not give you a lot to say. And a lot of people have a lot to say when it comes to their businesses, their value. And a lot of the work we do at b2bleads.com is really trying to condense all the value that you provide, that you know you can provide, all the credibility into the shortest possible amount of time, because you have so little of people's attention in the beginning and we need a way to get that quickly. So the next thing that determines how you're going to write your connection message is, of course, what do you want to achieve? Not all connection messages are the same, and connection rates aren't always the determining factor as to what kind of connection message you send. So are you looking to grow your network and purely get connections so that more people will see your content? Do you just want to have a bigger network and just have more connections? Like literally, if you just want connections and you want a really high connection rate, just reach out to recruiters to connect with them. You don't even need a connection message. They'll connect with you and you'll get a really high connection rate, 50% plus easily. And you'll grow your network super fast. But most people want connections for an actual reason, an end purpose. So if it's for sharing your content and bringing in those future inbound leads, then you probably want a more passive connection message. If it's purely for sales, then connection rate isn't always going to be the best determining factor, because you can certainly sacrifice your connection rate with the right message, but it leads to booked calls faster. And we'll talk a little bit about that today as well. So what are the different types of connection messages? Broadly speaking, I say there's a passive way you can connect with someone. It's not too upfront, it's not too salesy. There's the direct, more salesy approach. Salesy seems to get a dirty word, but good sales isn't about like bullying people into doing things. It's about understanding the value you provide, what people actually need help with, and having a strong offer. So when you reach out to people, it's kind of a no-brainer to talk to you. And it doesn't even matter if you're pretty forward and direct. And the other is just a blank connection message. Like I said, you don't even need to write anything. And you can actually get pretty decent connection rates with a blank message, but it depends what you want to achieve next. Connection rate is just getting them into your network. And if you get them into the network the wrong way, you can actually set yourselves up for disappointment if you start like trying to sell them and pitch them. In fact, this is what most people do on LinkedIn. They do a really shit job of it and they piss off a lot of people. And that's what makes a lot of people think that LinkedIn lead generation doesn't work, because most people do a bad job of it. They connect under false pretenses, essentially tricking people to connect, and then they hit them with massive sales pitches. And people don't like it, understandable. So in terms of writing your connection message, we need to understand what you want to achieve. Let's say for this purpose, we want to get sales. We want to find potential clients and get them into our network. It's one of two ways. We can do that directly with outbound, getting them onto booked calls, or we can get them into our network, hope they see our content and come to us. Let's focus on outbound because most people don't have the patience for content marketing and are interested in how to get people straight onto calls. For the most part, we want to take the shortest possible distance to get people to calls and sales if possible. So understanding why people connect, one of the biggest things, and this is why we have a setup and strategy fee in our business, and while we spend a lot of time in the beginning on the profile, is because this really does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. Now, there's some great videos, resources on my website. There's a pop-up, I think, that comes up on how to write your profile. There's tons of videos. I've done so much on it. It's so critical to get this right. Your profile and your presence on LinkedIn, as you reach out to people, it's going to do most of the heavy lifting for you. As you reach out to connect with people, they're going to look at your profile, they're going to look at your face, and we're dealing with people's subconscious biases here. If they don't like the look of your face, they probably won't connect with you. So make sure you have a good profile picture, professional and open, friendly, disarming. You remember, we're reaching out to people who don't know and trust us yet, and you have a scowly, serious face. Like I said, we're dealing with people's subconscious biases, and that might be enough to turn people off or feel like you're a mean person and they just shouldn't talk to you. So open, friendly, professional. Professional doesn't mean like a goofy red tie and a white shirt. It means professionally taken, professional lighting, sharp, looking good. You can wear a t-shirt, it doesn't matter. What matters is, as long as it aligns with your company culture and messaging, doesn't matter what you wear, just make sure it's friendly and professionally taken and looks good. And then there's everything else in your profile that needs to make sense and line up. So what else will determine whether people connect? Well, obviously the right audience. If you're targeting people that have nothing to do with what you do, who you help, and don't even go on LinkedIn, well, your connection rate's gonna suck. So there's a lot of factors here that have like nothing to do with the connection message itself that are gonna drive a lot of your connection rate. So one of the easiest ways to increase your connection rate is go after people you know are active on LinkedIn. So Sales Navigator gives you some great functionality to find people that are actually active on the platform. And so we know they're there. And so you can drastically increase your connection rate by going after people we know who are there. Calling your audience out certainly helps. You know, hey John, I help plumbers achieve X, Y, and Z. It's like, oh, well, I'm a plumber. It's gonna come across a lot less general. So knowing your audience, finding active members of your audience and calling them out. So calling them out and calling out their specific problems is gonna help them connect you to value. And that brings me to my next point. And it's really around, like, once again, why are people gonna connect with you? What need do they have? What values can you provide? And what pain do they have that you can solve? That is very obvious that when you try to connect with them, they're going to want to connect with you because they see that you can do that, and you can build trust, credibility, and likability around this idea. So if you have no market need or you don't solve a specific problem, then it's going to be hard to get people to connect based on your value. You can probably have a more passive connection or a blank message and still get people to connect. But ultimately, if there's no pain, there's no need in the market, it's going to be very hard to then drive that into a sale. So it's really important that there's an actual need that you're addressing and that we're getting people to connect with us based on value. I say this all the time, and fundamentally, I think it's really important. And it's one of the reasons, like when we reach out to people on LinkedIn, we get very little, if none of any pushback or like negative comments, because when we connect with people, we're very upfront about the reason for connecting. We put a lot of the focus on the value we provide. So over the years, I've been doing this for about 5 years. There's been lots of fancy AI and weird ways to like load people's faces and images onto computer screens and do all sorts of funky stuff. All kind of interesting and weird ways to capture people's attention. But ultimately, all that effort should really be put into your value proposition, your offer, because people don't give a shit how their mail is delivered if there's something good inside their mail. And that's how you need to start thinking about your LinkedIn messaging. Don't worry about whether it's automated, whether it's this, whether it's that. Just don't trick people. Don't treat people like they're stupid, and tell people the reason you want to connect and the offer, the value you can provide. People will connect if they see value in it, And if they connect for that right reason, then it's going to be a lot easier to drive that conversation to where you want it to go. So how do we build trust and credibility around the problem that we solve? I know this is all very high level and sort of not specific. We'll go into some examples in a second, but how do we build these trust, credibility, and likability? Like I said, don't underestimate the power of your face. A good professional profile image, background image. I know we're talking a lot about the profile here, but it really does a lot of the heavy lifting. So make sure your profile's on point, your website's on point, and more than anything, you understand your offer, your core value proposition, how you help people, and why they should trust you to do it. And try and get some credibility in that message. You know, name drop some big companies that you've worked with in the past, or even, examples of people and results that you've driven in the past. You've got very little space to do it. So I'll share some examples below of some of our message that we've used to get like over 50% connection rate, taking out some of the information, obviously, for some of the clients, and just talk about how we can go about writing a message and how I like to do it. So this is one of ours. We run passive direct. We do a whole bunch of different things. I've seen from one profile to the next, the exact same strategy get completely different results just because there's a different face behind the profile. So you got to really look at the data to understand what's working, what's not. And this is going to be really interesting, I think, for people who want to understand. It's not all about the connection, right? So hi John, I'm from an Aussie lead gen company. We help IT companies find new clients using LinkedIn. We host regular free training sessions, have a money back guarantee on our services. So if it's interested, if you're interested in lead gen ideas now or later, so it'd be great to connect. So I'm going to talk about what's happening in this message, because at face value, it seems very short and simple, and it's like, okay, well, if you just copy this, you might get worse than this, or it might not actually work for you, because it depends on what resources you have available to you, what credibility you have, and who you're targeting. Once again, Aussie lead gen company. This is when we're targeting clients in Australia. Obviously, we wouldn't use this if we were targeting the States. So that helps build trust, because it's saying, hey, we're local, we're close to home. Calling out the audience. Hey, we help IT companies find new clients using LinkedIn. Find new clients. That's the pain point. That's the solution. That's what we help people do. Building trust and likability. We host regular free training events, free training sessions. We're adding value and have a money back guarantee on our services. An offer, a strong offer, a risk mitigation. You know, if you were to work with us, we're confident in what we do. So if it's interested, now or later, because people will often put up walls and we need to address walls sooner than later. Now or later, this is a great way to get people to connect. If they're not interested now, it'd be great to connect. I think that's pretty much the max of the message. And that's a fairly passive message. And you get about 20 to 30% connection rate. So if I was to compare it to a more direct message, hi John, I'm currently working with Aussie consultants, once again, targeting the Aussie market, helping to build that trust, helping them generate more sales leads via LinkedIn. We're like having an extra salesperson, but with better ROI. We even have a money back guarantee, no questions asked. Let me know if you have time for a chat over the next week. So this one will drastically drop the connection rate. But what we've found is that people jump onto calls much sooner, and more people will connect who are interested, who otherwise would have not connected, because they prefer that upfront approach. So this one actually gets us more leads than this one, but this one gets us more connections. And I use this on my profile, but some of our sales guys use this one because I'm doing a lot of content marketing across mine, and I'm happy to have the extra connection rates, even if it means a lower lower lead rate, because I know it pays off in the long run. Another passive message on a profile that got, once again, you could use this exact same one and get a better connection message rate or a lower connection rate. It depends on the profile, service, audience, all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of things at play, but you can feel good knowing that this structure is a really powerful way to generate those leads. Hey John, I'm an experienced headhunter helping New York companies source top talent in marketing. For 10 years, I've specially filling roles with employees who fit and then that specific role that we're looking for, that target market. You may not currently need help. So once again, addressing that you may not need help in case they're going to put that wall up first, or already covered, but thought it'd be good to connect. So we just need to get our foot in the door. Really powerful strategy there. And then you can also just use a blank connection message. It's actually a good way to get your connection rate up, but I don't recommend it for the most part because it doesn't tell us anything about you, doesn't prepare them for what's coming next. And if you can't get people to connect with you based on your value, then you've got other issues you need to address, and that's going to be telling and helpful. So I hope that helps. If you want me to have a look at your connection messages or provide any suggestions, put them in the comments below. send me a message, reach out at b2bleads.com. And yeah, I hope that was helpful. Another really great thing you can do, although it's hard to squeeze in, is name drop some of the big companies you've worked for, or talk about specific results that you've got. One of the best connection messages I've written lately was for going after local councils with very specific needs, a very specific problem that someone had solved 15 times over. And it was a very big pain point. And so when we reached out to these people, we knew they had this pain point, and we knew there wasn't a lot of competition in the market, which also helps. And even though the audience isn't particularly active, the ones who do see it, like straight away, they get it and they want to get onto a call. So I hope that's helpful. Very high level, a lot of it, but I hope that helps you understand what kind of messages you need to write, how to write them, all that kind of stuff. So when you write a connection message, it's going to actually take you towards the sale, not just get you connections. All right. That's all for now. I am Ryan Caswell from b2bleads.com, and as always, have a great day. Cheers.